this trial and all of us who are fasting here in Washington are a part of. So Josie, if you'd come forward now.
Thank you, Frida. Yesterday, the trial began. The jury has been seated, and it is our privilege to address the hearts and minds of our fellow citizens on the jury. That's what due process is about in this country, and we have that right here in this country. We're defending ourselves today, and we get to speak to these charges. Some other people are not able to do that. Those detainees that still remain in Guantanamo are not able to do that. We felt an urgency in June when we went to the gallery of the House of Representatives. I personally felt an urgency the day before when I heard that the provisions, certain provisions in the National Defense Authorization Act would actually write into hard law a prohibition for these detainees to be released. Many of these men have been cleared by our own government, and yet Congress was ready then and has since made into hard law the impossibility of their release. Men held innocent by our own government, and they remain detained. How can this be? And that's what I said to myself that night before. How can this be? And how, after all of our efforts for years to speak to Congress, to speak to various levels of government, executive and legislative, into the American people, things were getting worse instead of better. And how could Congress do this very outrageous thing? How can this be? I had to speak. If I did not speak, I would be complicit. It's a privilege to be speaking here on behalf of my 4 co-defendants and on behalf of the other arrestees, many of whom are behind me right now, taking on the persona of people in Guantanamo right now. Now today, we continue with the trial under rather restrictive limits that were imposed on us yesterday. Before the jury came into the jury box and the trial began, the prosecutor did make an in limine motion to limit what this trial could be about and what we could talk about. That we were not going to put Guantanamo on trial. But we are putting our own hearts and minds on trial. We are doing that ourselves, and there are ways in which we can speak from the heart within the narrow limits that have been imposed on us. And one of our co-defendants, Mr. Carmen Trotta, delivered the opening remarks yesterday under those restrictions, within those narrow limits, and was able to speak from our hearts to the hearts of the jurors about how we were compelled to speak out about this wrong. Sure, we're not going to argue policy in the next days. We are going to argue from our conscience. We will not be complicit. Our fellow members of our community will not be complicit. They will come into the courtroom today with us to support us. Other members of the greater area here will come in and support us. And we ask the media to bring the hearts and minds of the American people into the courtroom with us. Members of the media, too, can find a way not to be complicit. We will speak today. We will be in solidarity with each other today, and we, my co-defendants here, are grateful for your solidarity. Thank you.